All right, we are in week 6, and we are almost done. And so I hope you're feeling good about that, especially if you've been keeping up. You can rest assured that there's some relief coming. Okay. Um, I've been trying to see where I can adapt for you guys in terms of creating a little bit of ease as we get into the um, finishing up. And my first lecture, my intro to this week, um, I ended up leaving it just on the casualty section of Wikipedia on the Vietnam War. And I don't know. I was going to move around with some different images. I ended up just staying on there. So sorry, that's kind of like weird, but um, that I just left it there. Although you know, if you can look at it on Wikipedia, it did make some statistical points that I was making in my first lecture. But I want you to listen to my intro. Well, I always want you to listen to my lectures from the beginning to the end. But it's the only lecture that I give directly this week, and I kind of just do a discussion overall of some things I want you to think about. The one thing that I didn't really include is a discussion about some of the other sections dealing with civil rights movement and conservative movement, and I didn't really set us up well to discuss gay rights and women's rights like I wanted to. And this is just what's frustrating, is so many important things that I'm being selective on. That are sort of covered in some of these documentary clips, but not fully. I do want you to look into the textbook and read some of those and realize that some of these assignments, like the paper, for example, there's only one paper due on Sunday this coming up. For the next assignment. Next Sunday, sorry. And if that's a topic that interests you, feel free to talk about women's rights, issue of birth control or of gay rights. I I did do a lot of focusing on some kind of interview clips. And I gave us 1 hour long discussion of like some interviews dealing with the Vietnam War after a discussion by John Green. So I used a lot of the crash courses again. But I kind of wanted to weave in those for this reason. I was going to show you a long documentary on Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, and there were so many good Vietnam War documentary clips that I could have you watch. I kind of wanted to put some things into perspective, so I used the TV interviews because I wanted you to visualize the way that the Vietnam War was a part of television culture and how it came through to Americans as it was developing, on the home front. Okay. And then when it comes to Malcolm X, he was a significant player during the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King Jr. was no doubt one of the most important. But other than maybe watching the movie or having to read a book by him, a lot of you have not been exposed to the way he talked. And I think he was a very persuasive speaker. And that when you see the way that he argued things, you kind of see where his popularity was at. And I have Muhammad Ali in there, a video by him that's kind of entertaining. He converted to the Nation of Islam as well, and you'll see him echo many of the things that Malcolm X said because those were a part of the teachings of the founder of the Nation of Islam, who was Elijah Muhammad. So, real quick, I just want to kind of say, just know several things that the Nation of Islam, that's what it's called, Nation of Islam, the black Muslims follow a religion that is very different than regular Muslims. Okay, so I just want to make sure you're clear on that. That the Nation of Islam has a lot of racial theories about blacks. Whether or not they are considered racist or not, I will let you look into that if you want, and you can make that decision. Currently, Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan is the leader of the Nation of Islam, but the first was Elijah Muhammad. Now, Malcolm X would later become a traditional Sunni Muslim. He would break from the Nation of Islam, and he was killed for it. There was some FBI background stuff, as there was. You'll see on these documentary clips, the FBI was having their hands everywhere at this time in groups, and also others from the Nation of Islam that thought he was a traitor to the nation, and so he was killed. Officially by the Nation of Islam, but also with some FBI stuff going on in the background there. And the Nation of Islam itself, too, by the way, broke. There was one branch that broke away following a guy named Khalid Mohammed. He's also dead. Not that long ago. You don't need to know all this stuff. I just kind of want to bring up some things that you might be going off in your head as you're watching this. He created a much more what you could call racist form of Nation of Islam, meaning like he really made it clear he did not like white people, and his movement has made it clear they don't like white people. The Nation of Islam itself under Farrakhan kind of, if you see the way that they discuss this with themselves and how they talk about it to the public, they're race-based. Most people would call them racist, but they can work with white people and get along with white people. They're more about black empowerment, and they have some theories about races that whites find offensive. Put it that way, and some Jews, okay? But the Khalid Mohammed breakoff was, again, much more militant on that issue. Now, I also have a documentary clip of the Black Panthers, and the other thing I wanted you to know is that the current Black Panthers that exist are completely not related to the old Black Panthers that you're seeing in this documentary clip discussed. And they are Muslims. They're of the Nation of Islam that follow the ideas of Khalid Muhammad. In other words, they're militantly anti-white. And, Fox News seems to be the only one that really likes to show demonstrations or discussions, things going on with the new Black Panther Party linked with the breakaway kind of branch of the Nation of Islam, Black Muslims. And they're definitely very offensive to people. And a lot of people get them confused with, the Nation of Islam, with the Black Panthers, and also like the Black Lives Matter movement. So, sometimes I've watched news things where they have these like riots where African Americans are upset about a killing with a police officer and an unarmed black person. And again, I'm just stating that's what's going on. I'm not going to take sides in that discussion right now. But what I'm going to say is that they'll sometimes show like an African American woman dancing on top of an American flag that's being burned, that's a member or affiliated with the new Black Panther Party. I want you to know that that's a fringe group that does not have a strong following, but they definitely make their presence felt and very loud and very in your face kind of thing. Okay, so just know that. And I think, was there anything else I wanted to say? That's all I think I wanted to cover. Give me a call again if you have any questions. I'm a little bit behind on my grading this week, but I'm trying to do my best. And again, I wish that we could cover this section much more, these 3 chapters better. But I feel like with my introduction lecture and looking at some of these little clips from the crash course videos with some of these video clips that I have, and if you look at the textbook, I think that you'll have a good enough background or feeling about what's going on and the issues of conservatism and different things like that. And with the conservative movement now, of course, we have a lot more. I think I should be able to kind of talk more about the development of all these things in the modern context. I mean, as in like right now, just before we finish class. Okay, so that is it, and I hope you have a great week, that you had a good weekend, and that we'll be in touch as need be.